All right, folks, welcome back. Chris Garlock back with Michael Redmond. This is our AlphaGo versus the World Series, game 19. And we're just working our way through all 60. Michael, who's our victim? I think we've seen this fellow before, haven't we?
It's KJ playing his second game against AlphaGo. And so he played a pretty amazing game the first time.
Yeah.
Even though when you do the AI analysis, it turns out he was having a hard time. It was a very exciting game. But so he gets a second chance to play AlphaGo. And he is a world champion, so I think he deserves it. In fact, it's sort of disappointing that he only played 3 games in this series, but then he got to play in the Chinese Summit thing.
Oh, that's right. That's right. So we'll be taking a look at those at another point. We ever get done with these.
So in this game, KJ has the black stones. And you can see he's playing the human way, because you might remember that in this opening, we've seen it in various orientations, like sometimes with the black 3-4 point in the upper left corner. So for some players, it might be a bit confusing. But this is the point where AlphaGo likes to play the large knight's shimari. And this is the one move that was like, it was a pattern that AlphaGo played every time in this board position. And in the first game that KJ played AlphaGo, he played here, so AlphaGo played the high shimari. So that's different. But when white plays the 3-4 point here, AlphaGo is going to play this move. So KJ was not going to copy that. He wanted to play his own move here. So white plays a right 2. And black pincers on the side. And you might remember, after AlphaGo, gradually pincers have sort of disappeared from professional play. It's because when black pincers, we've had a lot of problems with white pressing here, and it turns out it's going to get really, really complicated. But in many cases, pressing here is a very effective move for white. So that's the main reason why pincers have sort of disappeared. In this board position, actually, people are just going to be pressing here. This is the suggested move by AIs, and it's also a move that has become extremely popular. So pressing here and just allowing white to crawl. And this is a strategy that was around for a long time, at least several decades before AlphaGo came to the scene. But the fact that white is getting solid territory and will be playing to the right side with the next move somewhere, maybe splitting the side like this would be the standard move at the time. Some people thought that maybe it was okay for white, with white getting a lot of territory on the lower side and stuff like that. It turns out the computers just give black a good percentage if black plays this way, and not so good if black plays a pincer like this. And so the pincer is sort of going out of fad. In the game, white actually pincered on the left side, so we have a very unusual position here, in which I think still black should be thinking of pressing. So this would probably be black's best move, and white might play this way, in which case black can just cover along the top. And this would be sort of similar to the way that AlphaGo would play this with black, like just making this thick shape towards the center, giving white the territory on the third line, and threatening to attack this white stone next. It looks perfectly okay for black. I think this would have been still even game, maybe. In the game, black plays this pincer, and like AIs just don't like pincers so much. They're not so good. So white kicks once. This is pretty standard. And if black extends, white will probably just jump to the side. So that's making a base in the corner and threatening to attack black on the side. So KJ plays the pressing move here. And with these black stones here, black can fight fairly strongly. So for instance, if white is going to cut like this, black can probably play the fight in this case, just because black is backed up with these 2 extra stones here. So this is playable for black. So that's the idea. What KJ maybe did not expect is white to play the Hane here, because the ladder does favor black. The ladder favors black, and then play here. Because if white connects here, then the ladder is going to favor black. Obviously, that doesn't work. But when white plays here, and black takes the corner, I don't think we really knew that this is supposed to be slightly better for white. This is a position where with AI analysis, very subtly, like just 2 or 3% difference, it gets better for white usually. It depends, of course, on the board position, but quite often this is a local position that changes white's score and improves white's score just very subtly. So like after this, Katago was giving white 53% winning percentage.
Wow.
So that's a very small difference, like 53% to 47% is something that I would not be noticing in the game. And it's
Sure.
it's something that I would not be able to judge. My positional judgment is not that fine. And I think that that's true of all the Go players, actually. And so it's something that we've been learning from computer programs. We're getting a new sense of these positions. And so that would mean that maybe black should have, maybe black should have been playing this move after all. This would have been the normal way to play. Otherwise, black could have tried this, but this is something I might go into in a more full analysis. It just goes into a lot of complications. There's a lot of it's a very subtle difference. Usually, locally, this is not going to work. Either these two black stones, when white connects here, one of the two sets of black stones is going to die.
Right.
So it's really difficult to intuitively see how this is going to work for black. So that's something I'll try to explain in a more full analysis.
Okay.
But in this case, it's enough to say that this is a very slight, almost impossible to notice advantage for white. I remember I really liked this move the moment I saw it. Just the fact that black already has a very strong position here. White is trying to allow black to play more moves there just to make it more solid and hopefully to make it into a over-concentrated position. Like white could continue with something like this. Just as many black stones as possible in this general area to create what will be a slightly over-concentrated shape for black. It's not a big difference, but this is white's plan here. Actually, black could have played this way. Kaje, he gets a bit adventurous at this point. He just ignores that move. With the basic idea that since black is very strong here, maybe the lower side is not worth playing after all. But white is perfectly happy to play another move here. And here. This kind of play with black playing away from the lower side, it makes the game more complicated. So for a human player, this would make it a lot more confusing.
Yeah.
But it didn't really phase AlphaGo very much. AlphaGo plays away. And this is a point where black should have just answered. This is a big point. White will probably follow up with something like this. And white does have a very subtle advantage, but is still playable for black. In the game, black played away. And you can see, I think it's just because his idea of trying to complicate the game, something that worked well for him in his human games. It's just complicating it. It doesn't seem to work against AlphaGo. It's more difficult for the human to keep on going. And this move in the corner, not only does it settle the white group, it also does take away the base from black's group. So it was a very big move. I think at this point already we're seeing AlphaGo having more than 60% winning percentage. And now the black group is in trouble. Of course, Jose is ready to handle that. He has a plan. But as the game continues like this, at this point already, white has something over 70%. So according to Katago, white's already ahead before Komi. So on the board, you might say. So even without Komi, white seems to be ahead. So I'll stop here in this version. It is a game where the tactics that Kaje was using they're very exciting and interesting, but they were not having much effect on AlphaGo, I don't think.
No, not at all. Yeah, it must be so interesting for the players too. And did you get a sense of that at the time or subsequently? Because I know you were hugely excited to see this treasure trove of games, but I assume that they must have been the same.
Well, It was sort of like the Shinfuseki in the 1930s when Goseigen and Kitani played some very innovative openings, and then everyone started trying to figure out how to use that. And
Right.
so the moment these games came out, professional play changed dramatically. And it was most obvious in the players themselves, but other players also. It just completely changed the way they played their games. Even though we didn't have AI programs that we could put in our own computers at that time, the fact that we had this fairly large group of games, of 50 games to study, that were absolutely new in the way AlphaGo was playing, it did change the way we played Go dramatically.
Such a historic moment in the history of this game. So, which is one of the reasons why you wanted to really, do all of the AlphaGo games, even though I am beginning to feel like, geez, if we've bitten off more than we can chew. But no, I'm sure we will. We will be just fine. So, you guys hang in there, and we will as well. Thanks for watching this. Hope you've enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.